I think culturally, we don't start talking to people like this until they're 25, 30.
Unfortunately.
I think the problem is we don't start talking visionary terminology to 6-year-olds, 7-year-olds who are the most emotionally pliable, and they have enough childlike faith to actually believe it. Like that's who need, like most vision conferences are for like 35-year-olds, 40-years-olds, 25-years-olds.
This is so good.
But they should actually be for 5-year-olds, 6-year-olds, 7-year-olds, so that they are introduced to that language, the concept, the construct. Because what we do, we encourage them to imagine, but like, no, that's kind of where God is operating and communicating His vision to young people, because they'll go for it.
Yeah, they will.
If you don't start talking like that to your 30 or 35 or 40, you'll see it and be like, nah, it's safer here.
It's safer.
And it'll be better for me if I just stay here.
Yeah.
We'll actually reason our way out of vision. Whereas like, it's for 4-year-olds, 5-year-olds, 7-year-olds who say, okay, I'm going to do that if they have the right nurture and care and support around them.
Life can be fast-paced, strenuous, and flat-out overwhelming. Life transitions and taboo topics can make it hard to catch your breath. Welcome to Breathe, a podcast that enables you to slow down, get your bearings, and engage in real conversations where no topic is off limits. Breathe is presented by Breath of Life, hosted by David Person and speaker-director Pastor Debleaire Snell.
Welcome to Breathe. I'm David Person. It's another Monday.
Another Monday.
The brothers, the
Hey,
brothers
the
are here.
brethren.
There we go.
We got a new.
We got a new thing. Yeah.
It kind of has that.
No, Dave, you got
I
to
gotta
explode
do the
that.
boom.
Boom. There you go.
There we go. All right.
I love that.
I was watching. President Biden after he gave. No, it was before he gave Magic Johnson the Congressional Medal of Freedom. And Magic. No, it was Denzel. Not Magic. It was Denzel.
Oh, yes. I say, Denzel.
And he gripped him up.
Yeah.
Give him a little
President Biden, yeah.
Gave him the full dap, too.
President Biden knew what he was doing there. He's
Give
no
him the
longer
full
president.
dap. Right,
We got a new president.
That's true.
But nonetheless.
But he's still free. He'll still have the title president for the rest of his life.
I wonder if he practiced it before.
I think he did.
He was like,
I think he did.
Got the brothers coming in today, so I got to.
Well, he probably had 8 years of practice.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh, no, you're right. You sure right.
Yeah.
You ain't wrong on that.
Yeah, so we got our own.
There we go. All right.
Boom.
Now we practiced it.
Love it.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
So welcome to another episode. We are glad to be here with you.
Yeah.
And of course, we are still looking at ways to leap.
Taking a leap.
Which is really just a metaphorical way of saying, let's see some improvement in our lives in various areas.
Yeah.
We believe strongly, deeply that God can help us and guide us as we seek to make improvements. And another area that we want to explore, Pastor Snell and Pastor Nugent, is vision. Vision.
Yeah.
Now,
taking a vision leap.
Yeah. So we're not talking about vision with glasses or binoculars.
Right.
We're talking about another kind of vision.
Another kind of vision. Yeah, very much. Yeah. So I just think that the Bible says where there is no vision, people perish.
Yeah.
And so I think it's an essential component to any life that is hoping to be fruitful, joyful, productive, and to realize all the potential that God has placed inside of you. Vision is your roadmap. It is your compass. It is your GPS.
Love it.
And so we want to see God's people operate with a sense of a guiding vision, a providential vision that is governing their steps, that is managing their circumstances, and helping to script a predetermined outcome for them.
When did you first realize that you had a vision for your life, or that God had given you a vision for your life? I want both of you actually to answer it, and I'm going to answer it
Okay,
too.
good. I like that. Yeah.
It's interesting. That's a good question. I think I was probably 20 before I recognize it, or before I was able to, I guess, put some of the pieces together. Because I think that there was, and again, I didn't know where it was leading but I had a sense. I guess I'll just say this. I just always have felt that I wasn't supposed to be like everyone else. I realized I did not fit into certain circles. I've always had a sense that I kind of process things a little bit differently. But I think I was probably 20 to 21 here as a student. And it wasn't until you kind of sit with certain people like a James Doggett, where they're helping, they help me to be able to clarify it and put those pieces together. And so I think for me, that's when I was just like, oh, that's why that happened. And that's why that didn't fit. And that's why that failed. And that's why this didn't work out. And this is why I notice these things and am burdened for these things. And why when I sit still, I see these things. I think that's where it began to collide. It wasn't perfectly put together, but that's where I began to have a sense of formation, that there was something bigger than me that was guiding my life.
I love hearing before you jump in, I just want to say I love hearing that that James, or as I call him, Jimmy, was a part of that for you. Jimmy's one of my favorite people. We're good friends. Go ahead, Kirk.
Man, you putting us on the spot. Now, I think it was around the same time frame, just for me, about 21 or somewhere there. It just became clear. There was just a series of events, probably way longer than we have time to really unpack here. But there was a series of events. I remember this piece, if I can share just a little piece of it. I remember I was in Maryland looking for a job. Was working at FedEx at the time in the night shift, and I was looking for a job during the day. I'm a college grad. And got let go of the FedEx job because, once the job realizes you have a college degree, they're like, this guy, well, let's fire him before he leaves us, essentially, because I was going to leave. And I wanted to go back home, and my dad said to me, because I called him to say, hey, I want to move back home. I was just in Maryland looking for a job. And he said, what you're going to face at home, what you're going to face, you can decide whether you're going to face it in Maryland or you're going to face it at home, but you're going to face it. You don't have a choice whether or not you're going to face trying to find a job, trying to find your footing, but you can face it in Maryland or you can face it at home. What is God telling you to do?
Sure.
And that was a really critical moment for me because I had never even considered that God had a plan for me. And so I spent the next few days really asking God, where do you want me to go? And I felt at peace about staying in Maryland. And I'm telling you, that decision, that was pivotal for me. That's when I realized, okay, God, you have something. It's not that He clarified everything. It's not like He told me these are the steps you're going to walk, but it was clear to me from that day till this day that God had something different and special. And there's so many things that Pastor Snell shared that I could say ditto. Things that didn't fit, things that didn't quite work out. That's why that failed. Okay, because you were pushing in this way. You were clarifying this piece. And I want to be clear, even what I said earlier, I praise God that God blocked that scenario because I married the right one. And so there's a lot of different pieces. You begin to realize, like, okay, God, you are ordering and orchestrating every one of these steps. None of this is by random or happenstance. And that vision becomes clear, even though I don't know exactly what He's going to do next. But you kind of see that the tracing of His hand throughout your life in some clear ways.
I like the way you articulated that because, and really both of you did, because the thing I'm getting out of what you're saying, and this mirrors my experience, the first indication of vision is not always very specific or clear, and it even evolves. And I kind of hear that in what you both have said. And that was my experience. I remember clearly at 4 years old, I had this strong impression about my life. And that God was calling me, and I thought in a childish way, I thought, well, it must be this. It became much more clear, like you, when I came to Oakwood.
Gotcha.
Oakwood. and then it clarified itself in a couple of different ways, and then my journey truly began. But that's where. But even with that,
right,
I couldn't even begin to conceive all that was going to unfold.
Sure. Yep.
Because you come with a vision that I'm going to just be doing this.
Right.
And then God opens doors here, 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 and here.
That's what he does.
Oh,
that's what he does.
And so now, in retrospect, I can look back and say, all of that, was a byproduct of this initial impression I had as a little boy.
Wow.
And that's not, I'm not trying to put myself on some mystical pedestal or anything, but I think God works that way. I
think he does.
For some of us, a lot of us.
Because if he hadn't given it to you when you were a little boy,
right,
once certain things materialized, it wouldn't have made sense.
Right. Exactly.
You wouldn't have been able to connect the dots.
Exactly.
It would have just been random. But like now, I've seen this.
Yes.
That's why So I do think that is certainly the way God works. And honestly, if we are to believe the scriptures, right? Joel 2:28 says that in the latter days, I'm going to pour out my spirit on all flesh.
Amen.
It says your sons and daughters are going to prophesy. Your young men are going to dream dreams. Your old men are going to see visions.
That's right.
And so I do believe that as we move toward the end of time, I think more the spirit is going to be poured, or is being poured out in such a way that we have more access to visionary agency than any other generation that has come before us. And notice that it is not limited to any age group.
Yeah.
Sons and daughters, not any gender, males and females.
That's right.
Like he said, I'm going to pour my spirit on all my people.
That's right.
On all flesh.
That's right.
And so I do think that we are in that age. And so when you say, a child, a young person, no, we shouldn't be surprised.
Sure.
It should actually be what we expect. And I do think the only challenge is, I think culturally, we don't start talking to people like this until they're 25, 30.
Unfortunately.
I think the problem is we don't start talking visionary terminology to 6-year-olds, 7-year-olds who are the most emotionally pliable, and they have enough childlike faith to actually believe it. Like that's who need, like most vision conferences are for like 35-year-olds, 40-years-olds, 25-years-olds.
This is so good.
But they should actually be for 5-year-olds, 6-year-olds, 7-year-olds, so that they are introduced to that language, the concept, the construct. Because what we do, we encourage them to imagine, but no, that's kind of where God is operating and communicating his vision to young people, because they'll go for it.
Yeah, they will.
If you don't start talking like that to your 30 or 35 or 40, you'll see it and be like, nah, it's safer here.
It's safer.
And it'll be better for me if I just stay here.
Yeah.
We'll actually reason our way out of vision. Whereas it's for 4-year-olds, 5-year-olds, 7-year-olds who say, okay, I'm going to do that. If they have the right nurture and care and support around them.
Yeah. We see bursts of it. We see bursts of it in society. You'll see, what they call a child prodigy. We had the Wilson family come to Oakwood for the Psalm 150 event, and their son is amazing. But I think you're right. They just spoke vision into him. They what we would normally say is impossible for others. They spoke as a sure opportunity, a certainty for him. And so I think we see bursts of it, and we think that those are outliers. But I think based on what we were discussing,
it should be a little bit more of a norm.
It should be a little bit more of a norm.
Yeah.
And for those who missed that weekend that Pastor Kirk is talking about, you should go back.
You should.
And check it out.
You should.
Justin and Shalana have done an amazing job with their children.
Both of them. Really, both of them.
December.
And the big fact that it's both of them is further, proving the point that in one family you have 2 child prodigies. That means this is not a fluke. There's a recipe here.
And it starts with, and if we're going to really give credit where credit credit is due.
I
It starts with Jimmy and Paula.
I agree. I agree.
Who cultivated this in Justin. And also, don't want to forget about Sean, who does his thing online. He's got thousands of people.
Phenomenal work.
And
you just
music theory and music teaching online in a way that's
it's vision.
That's
what it is. Vision.
It sort of does this amazing thing. They've also got a daughter, Dana. I don't see Dana being public with whatever she's doing, but what Jimmy and Paula did with those kids is phenomenal. And that Jimmy's my boy. Got to shout him out.
Come on, good people. Good people.
Now I don't want us to miscommunicate something. I think it might be easy for people to assume that because you have a vision that it doesn't sometimes, you don't sometimes falter.
Sure.
Because I remember specifically, Pastor Snell, there were times when even though I knew I had this calling on my life, I reached some times that were desert moments where I was just like, man, I am lost. I ain't got no compass. I ain't got no water.
Sure.
I'm about to die out here.
It's very much.
Seriously.
Very much.
And of course, God brought me back around.
Right.
But there were those moments.
Yeah. So I just think honestly. So let's go back to the word for this.
Yeah.
So like Abraham. So we talk
I
about.
was just
you have a
Abraham,
vision,
right?
But you falter, right?
Yeah.
Like the poster boy for that was your boy Abraham. Because what a vision is, in some ways, visions are not always very detailed.
Yeah.
So like what God gives Abraham of, he says, listen, I'm going to show you a land. I'm going to take you to a land that your ancestors are going to dwell in and occupy. But he doesn't tell him how long it's going to take it to get there. He doesn't tell him the run-ins he's going to have with the Egyptians and the Canaanites on the way there. I mean, his family members got to be like, yo, dude, what are you thinking?
Going?
Where are you going? I don't know. How long is it going to take you to get there? I don't know.
I don't even know where we're going.
How you know when you get there? God will just show me. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Or even when you think about Joseph's dreams, you know what God shows him? He shows him the sun, moon, and stars bowing down to him. He shows him the sheaves, like he sees the end, but he doesn't see everything that happens in between.
No.
He doesn't see the pit. He doesn't see the slavery. He doesn't see the prison, but he sees the end.
Yeah.
And so I do think that that's how it operates, where God gives us critical, I guess, the critical components that can serve as kind of our North Star. But in between, because you know what he does? He gives the visions to humans.
He does.
And humans are innately frail, flawed. So like your boy Abraham, he was a magnificent liar. I mean, your boy, man,
epic.
And think of it on the spot. I mean,
and instruct others.
Bring others in on this thing. I mean,
she's not my wife.
She's not my wife.
No, what you talking about?
Tell them we're siblings.
Or whether it was taking Hagar, and
listen.
I mean,
Abraham,
so God already told him it's going to happen through Sarah.
It was clear.
Like, God is taking too long. So let me, I mean, he was fortunate where he could say, Sarah suggested it. So he just went along with it.
She said I could have a side.
This is sanctioned.
So I think. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No. There's so many pieces. I think this is such a great blueprint. I think we all said it in different ways at the age in which we realized that God had something for us, but it does not mean you have clarity on what the next step is. It's just a recognition and a appreciation that God has something for me to do. That He did not put me here at random. There's a call on my life. But I'm still not sure about what I'm going to do next. And I think it gives us hope to look at the stories of, somebody like Abraham, who's considered the father of faith. Even Abraham didn't know what the next step was going to be.
Right.
And so even for those of us who are trying to make that vision leap this year, these are some of the normative behavior. This is the way God works with his people. He will give you a vision, and through faith and through being diligent and being intentional about just continuing in the way that God has you, he will bring some of these other pieces to pass.
And can I just say this when we talk about vision, because I think God reveals himself to us all differently. So there's certain people that have these powerful dreams. My wife is like that. Gianna has these dreams, and she wakes up and it's vivid and real, and she can sense things. I'm just kind of like, I was sleeping right next to her, and I got nothing. Like I felt like I just went to sleep a few minutes ago. But sometimes in still moments with a pen and a pencil, like God just begins to script different things, and certain things become very, very clear through the still small voice of the Holy Spirit. But I did want to just say this for somebody who's like, this vision thing, it just feels amorphous, random, high-minded, esoteric. Like, what are these guys talking about, right? Because there's somebody listening to this just saying this joint don't make sense. So I do want to say where vision begins, and you talked about it, Kirk, Pastor Nugent. It is this belief that God has predetermined my steps. I do think you have to, like, vision won't make sense unless you believe that.
You got to believe that.
Like, I was born at this time, equipped with these gifts. And it doesn't matter how imperfect the surroundings of your birth.
Come on.
Like God says through Jeremiah, before you were born, I knew you. While you were in your mother's wombs, I ordained you. For Jeremiah, it was to be a prophet. But God is saying, I ordained you. So, the word ordained, it's not a religious ceremony that goes upon preachers. No. It simply means that you have been set apart or set aside for a specific purpose.
Love that.
And I just think there are too many of us that are living without that conviction that I am here by the will of God for this time in Earth's history to accomplish a work that will honor Him in the process. So I think a part of us is just believing something as simple as, my steps have been ordered by God. Now, then the second thing I want to say about vision is that it's not just, all right, I see this vision or dream. Sometimes it is simply the discernment to be able to recognize where God is moving and where God is moving me. It is recognizing that things are shifting and adapting, and it is the discernment to recognize where I need to adjust or amend or just kind of have some flexibility in my soul. And so I do want to just kind of give kind of another vision portal for somebody that doesn't have night dreams or you don't have daydreams. But God just gives you the discernment to recognize where He is moving and how things are unfolding and how you need to adjust and pivot along the way. And see, and what I want to call somebody to, because somebody's listening and you're just living. Your life is completely reactive. I'm just reacting from one to one variable, another circumstance, another situation.
Wow.
And I'm just kind of surviving. I'm just trying to keep my head above water, so to speak. Yeah. And what vision does is it moves you from a reactionary posture to a proactive posture, where I realize that this thing is not going to sink me because I'm going somewhere.
Yeah.
This cannot kill me. Like, what vision does? It actually makes you resilient.
Yeah.
It is actually what gives you the power to keep getting up like Joseph did.
Yeah.
No matter how many times he got knocked down.
Because I had this dream.
Because there is something, there's a dream or a vision that is guiding me somewhere.
Yeah.
You know what vision does? Is it keeps you from it keeps you from settling. Like you just can't settle comfortably in the wrong job, or with the wrong person, or in the wrong predicament. Because you know what vision will do? It will haunt you.
Yes, it will.
It will torment you. It will make your life miserable when you're settling into complacency, because it is like the inner alarm that says you were created for so much more. That you were born to do something greater than what it is that you're doing.
Yeah.
And so, like, there's some of us, so I want to be careful, because I do think that we have to be grateful and thankful. But there are some of us that there are some of us that have a righteous discontent. Your discontent is not just because, like, all right, I see them, they got a new car, I want a new car. And they got a new house, I want a new house. No, it is like God used that to stir something in you to say, no, you were actually created to do more than what you're doing. Like, you to not settle prematurely, for something less than what God has designed you to have. And so I do want to just kind of put vision in just a different portal for somebody that doesn't see it the way I see it, or receive it the way perhaps we see it.
No, and I love the portal piece. I think that it is in recognizing these normative ways that God speaks to you. I think for I'm very similar to you. I don't get the vivid dreams. Kanique does, but they're not good dreams. When she shares with me what the dreams are, I'm like, what?
Yeah.
But I don't get the vivid dreams. But what I do get though is when I'm sitting down to like script a video or to write something up, I feel a download. And I can't explain this one at all, but inspiration hits me quite frequently and regularly when I'm cutting the grass. This is why I will never outsource it. I don't know what it is about the lines in the, I don't know what it is, but I sometimes have to let go of the lawnmower, run inside and find a notepad because ideas are coming and they're coming at such a pace I can't even capture them fast enough. And I do believe that it is our work as human beings, as people, to find where are those moments where I receive inspiration and clarity and vision with specificity and at a regular frequency. And we got to find those spaces. So if you don't get the vision, the night dream, right, like Gianna does, but when you sit quietly and journal, something happens. Then you've got to carve out time to go back to that place. I think that's what our responsibility is, because then we begin to get clarity of what those next steps are.
So for you said it's cutting the grass. For me, it's a lot of times it's airplanes, an airplane ride. Because it's kind of one of the few spaces, I won't say the few, but one of the spaces where I just can't be reached by anybody else.
You're unplugged.
I can't be interrupted. Like I'm still, and I'm alone with my thoughts, and that's where a lot of like the book Leap Year.
I was gonna say the Leap Year
happened
book.
on an airplane.
That's right.
That's kind of how it came about.
Wow.
So I just think everybody, and it's not exclusive, but that's where I'm kind of like. But I look for it now. I'm like, okay, I got a nice long flight to LA. All right, Lord, what you got for me today? Let me see what you're gonna say to me, today. So so everybody has a different way that you receive it and interpret it, and so you just have to walk in it. Now, the one thing I do want to say is visions come with the responsibility.
There it is.
Like, you got to do something with it. So let me just say this, two things, because we say, all right, because we use the term visionaries as if it is only reserved for a select few. No, I do believe that not everybody has vision, but I believe everybody has access to vision. I believe it is available. I just think most of us are not tapping into it.
Okay.
That's good.
But I do think that the responsibility that you have to a vision is to let it be your guide. You ever been in a what do they call these things? Darn it. An easy river? No, what do they call it? Lazy river.
Lazy river.
Yeah, it's funny because like the vision is what propels you.
Yeah.
And so it's like being a lazy river, like, man, you just got to get in.
You just got to get in.
And it'll push you.
Sit on it.
It'll direct you.
Yeah.
It'll guide you. It'll usher you. Now, do you have to kind of kick and push,
tap, and
stay afloat and balance? Yeah, you got to do those things. But like the force that is guiding you, it is not your own.
Oh, that's good. That's a great visual.
And I just think that that's one of the things that vision does. It is the pushing. It is the wind beneath you. It is the wind in your sails.
Yeah.
It is what guides you. And so that's the power of it. So, but you got to get in. And you've got to push and kick. So a vision without effort is going to have you capsized.
Yep. So true.
Or you're just going to stay on the shore. You'll never get in the jet stream of providence and let it begin the guiding process of your life.
Jet stream of providence.
Come on and preach.
I love that. That's it. I love the imagery there.
I love it.
That's nice.
It's pushing you.
That's nice. I love it. I love it.
No, some of us have had the experience of seeing a vision or an idea that you had brought to life and to fruition by someone else. Me and Kanique have a list of these things. We ideas that we came up with that somebody else has now, and you're like, man. And this is one of the things I recognize, that God is not giving that vision to one person.
Nope.
He's not. He's giving it to multiple.
Remember, we talked about it. The vision is not the intellectual property of the visionary.
That's so true.
Like, you have to be a steward of the vision. You're not an owner of the vision.
Yes.
And it's just kind of like the parable of the talents. The talents is a portion of money. All right, if you're going to bury that talent in the sand, God says, I didn't give it to you. I just put it under your direction. But if you're not going to do anything with it, I'm going to take it and give it to the man that had 5, or to the one that had 3, because I can trust them to do something with it,
to steward it well.
And that's why favor. We use the term divine favor. Favor is not about who God loves the most; it's who He can trust the most.
My word.
It's not about, oh man, I just love Kirk more than I love David, or I love David more than I love Kirk. It's no, I can trust David with this vision. I can trust he is going to take it, and he's not going to sit on it. He is not going to reject it. He is not going to tinker with it. He is going to take it, and he is going to do something with it.
That's good.
And I just think that, and honestly, and I don't think God just gives visions to righteous people. He gives them to people who don't believe.
Oh yeah,
because they're gonna take it and they're gonna do something with it.
Yeah.
It's funny. There is a wonderful Christian software person who talks in great detail about how he had the concept for something like Facebook before it ever became a thing. And I don't know what Zuckerberg's faith orientation is. I haven't studied him like that. But man, he took it and he did something with it. You know what I'm saying? So I just think at the end of the day, because at the end of the day, there's certain visions, again, they're not mine, but they're given not just for my benefit, but they are to profit and benefit humanity.
Right.
So God says, okay, I can't let this die inside of you. I can't let it go to your grave. I've got to give it to somebody, whether they believe or not.
My word.
Who is going to do something
with it.
Yeah.
That's a great point.
That's great.
It's a great point. Yeah, a lot of people have contributed to society who may not even believe in God.
Oh, yeah.
But they still are indirectly helping us to be light.
Yeah.
We don't know if the person who created this equipment
so
that
true.
we're using,
So true.
believed in God, but we're using it to God's glory.
Absolutely.
Right?
Or people that create vaccines or
Yeah.
inventions or cure disease. These are visionary properties. It is God giving the cheat code to mankind to help push humanity forward.
There it is.
Yeah.
So we would like to invite you to join us.
Come on.
On this vision quest.
Yeah.
That's right.
Find the vision that God has for you.
Yeah, I love that.
Pray about it and talk to people and interact with people who can help you to find, discover, cultivate, that vision if you can't really see it or don't perceive it, and then believe in it and move forward. And don't be discouraged if there are times when you feel like you're out in the desert without a GPS. God,
We've been there.
We've been there. God will get
frequently.
you there.
Yes.
That's
Oh, yeah.
right.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
right. God will get you there, especially if you stop, pray, and breathe.
Breathe is produced by David Person for Breath of Life. Executive producer is Debleaire Snell, and sound engineer is Kirk Nugent. Audio episodes of Breathe can be found on Apple, Spotify, or Google podcast platforms. For video episodes and extra content, check out the Breath of Life YouTube channel. Breath of Life is faith-based content, resources, and programs from a contemporary urban perspective for those looking for hope and guidance. We believe that every breath we take is a testimony that God is consistent, that He loves us, and has a plan for our lives.